Developing news coming out today, November 29th, 2025, as we're hearing that there was a plan for a bombing in a U.S. city that has just been stopped. Take a look here. You can see Afghan asylum seeker Mohammed Dawood Alakozai admits on TikTok that he was planning an attack. Now, this video is circulating around and we're hearing that he has been stopped. He admitted that he was building a bomb and was planning to detonate it for an attack in Fort Worth, Texas. Afghan nationalists admitted via Operation Allies Welcomed, charged with making terrorist threats, Department of Homeland Security says. Now, Afghan nationalist arrested for bomb threat in Fort Worth. Now, also, we had that attack that happened in D.C., and Donald Trump said, "You won't be here for long." Trump calls for migration ban on third world nations after the D.C. shooting. So there's a lot coming out in the past couple of hours today, Saturday, November 29th, 2025. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, play for you the video footage, share with you the articles so that way you can see it for yourself. And if you're glad to see the approach that Donald Trump is taking, as he is saying he's going to be reversing the migration in and shipping people out, if you're glad to hear it, drop a 47 in the comments for support for Donald Trump. Let me know your thoughts. But this coming out today, we're hearing that yet another potential attack on a U.S. city, this was going to be a bombing in Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas, has been stopped. So I'm going to dive into the details. And as you guys know, here on the channel, I cite all the sources. They're hyperlinked in the description. So you can go ahead, click the links, read them for yourself. I'm going to put it on the screen, read right from it, show you the latest so you can see the dates, the sources, and see this came out in the past 4 hours. You can know and rest assured that this is the latest. Now, if you appreciate that, do me a favor before I dive into the video footage and the details, hit that thumbs up like button for me. Subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? Pretty much going live every day. Turn on those notifications because it could be at any time whenever there's breaking news like this coming out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in so you can see the latest. Let's start off with some video footage so you can see it for yourself.
We do want to continue with our top stories that we're following here. We want to bring you a bit of breaking news. I'm putting this up on your screen. It's from Brooke Taylor with Fox News saying exclusive. An Afghan national was arrested on Tuesday after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating that he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area there in Texas. This is all according to the Department of Homeland Security. I want to put up some video that we have there of that suspect in full there on your screen. But we do know that court records are showing that the man is now being charged with making a terroristic threat at the state level. He came into the U.S. as a part of the Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome, just like the D.C. shooting suspect. On September 7th of 2022, he was admitted as a lawful permanent resident. ICE has currently lodged a detainer on him. Once again, that is the current update that we have there from Fox News. This is Brooke Taylor with them now reporting there that the Afghan national was charging Fort Worth, Texas, has now been arrested, according to the Department of Homeland Security. I do want to also show you this live look that we have there in Dallas, in Fort Worth area, there in Texas. If we get any other updates or details, we'll certainly make sure to bring them to you here on Live Now. From
there you have it, you guys. Now, we also had heard that he had released this initially on TikTok. So I'm going to share with you here what's going around on X as we're seeing this TikTok video starting to circulate around. And you can see here, I'm not going to play the sound for you, but he is saying that he is building a bomb in his house. He's planning to detonate it, and he's going to do a societal attack. And he was planning to do it in Fort Worth. And he says that he's building explosives in his home right here in America. And he's declaring it to, I guess, some friends that he's talking to on social media. I guess he was thinking that this was not going to be caught. However, it was. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the articles so that way you can see it. And as always, these are going to be linked in the description. This one coming out past couple of hours today from Fox. It says, Afghan national admitted via Operation Allies Welcome, charged with making terrorist threats, Department of Homeland Security says. And we had heard Donald Trump after the D.C. shooting saying, hey, this is the fault of the Biden administration, letting in millions upon millions of these individuals in without a vetting process. That is the reason why we have this. And he said, I am reversing it along with all auto pen executive orders by Biden. We're going to get them reversed because he said these are just a threat to the United States of America. Let's take a look at this article here. It says an Afghan national was arrested this week after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating that he was building a bomb with an intent to target of a Fort Worth area in Texas, the Department of Homeland Security told Fox News. Court records show that Mohammed Dawood Al-Khazai was charged at the state level with making a terrorist threat. Now, Al-Khazai came to the United States as a part of Operation Allies Welcome under the Biden administration, the Department of Homeland Security said. Now, that was that exact same statement that we had heard from Trump where he called the reporter stupid. He said, "Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?" when they asked, "Why are you blaming the Biden administration?" And he said, because it was during the Biden administration that we saw these people begin to pour in. If you agree with Trump that that's a stupid question, drop a 47 in the comments. If you think it is obvious this is the Biden administration's fault, the open border policies, this was Biden's fault, drop a 47 for support for Donald Trump calling that reporter stupid. Now, if you didn't agree with that, drop a 46 for support for the Biden administration. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, the effort resettled Afghans following the U.S. military withdrawal from the country in the summer of 2021. Now, Rahmanullah Lakhanawa, the alleged gunman in the shooting of the 2 National Guard members this week in Washington, D.C., also arrived in the U.S. under that same program. Now, the magnitude of the national security crisis Joe Biden unleashed on our country over the span of 4 years cannot be overstated. President Trump has directed his entire team to continue rooting out this evil within our borders. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt wrote on X on Saturday today in a reaction to the Al-Khazai arrest. Now, Al-Khazai was taken into custody on Tuesday, one day before the shooting in Washington, D.C., by the Texas Department of Public Safety and an FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force in a coordinated law enforcement effort. Now, on September 7, 2022, Al-Khazai was admitted to the U.S. as a lawful permanent resident. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has since lodged a detainer on him following his arrest. Let's go ahead and take a look at another one that has just come out. Afghan national arrested for bomb threat in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, Texas, an Afghan national who was paroled into the United States under Operation Allies Welcome, was arrested for threatening to blow up a building in Fort Worth, according to the Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. Mohammed Dawood was arrested Tuesday by the Texas Department of Public Safety and FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force and charged with making terrorist threats. McLaughlin said that he posted a video of himself on TikTok indicating that he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area. McLaughlin also said that he was paroled into the United States under President Joe Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program. So there you have it, you guys. Now, we are hearing that President Donald Trump right now is saying he is going to be reversing all of this. But let's go ahead and take a look at some more video footage coming out on X here. This one from Fox News with an update. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Well, this just in, we have a Fox News alert from Brooke Taylor. You won't believe this. DHS is confirming that an Afghan national was arrested Tuesday after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area. Mohammed Dawood Al-Khazai is charged at the state level with making a terroristic threat. According to DHS, listen to this. He came to the United States as part of Operation Allies Welcome. So here you have it. This happened Tuesday. Texas Department of Public Safety. This is a second Afghan national, second one this week. Operation Allies Welcome. He had a terror plot. We know it comes the same week that deranged individual, that alleged assassin, took out 2 of our heroic National Guard, came here on the same program, Operation Allies Welcome, a program that we were assured time and time again by Mayorkas, by Jen Psaki, by Joe Biden himself was safe and secure. But here we have a second data point in 1 week that it was not safe, it was not secure. And we've got to look very hard at this program as President Trump is vowing to make change.
There you have it, you guys. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as we are hearing that they had arrested him and he had plans to do an attack on Fort Worth, Texas. And he was building a bomb. So Trump is saying that he is going to be freezing migration and he's going to be reversing a lot of what Biden allowed. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some more video footage here, just coming out from Live Now with Fox.
I do want to bring in Gerard Felitti, the senior counsel for the Lawfare Project, to help break it all down. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. And first off, I just want to go back to basics here. What is meant by all of this, and really how realistic is it?
Well, what's meant by all of this is that it's very difficult to properly vet people from a lot of countries before they come to the United States. The visa application process or humanitarian relief under refugee status, you need to know who is actually coming into the country. In the US, in the Western world, we have criminal background checks, we have computerized records. But in a lot of countries like Afghanistan, like in the Middle East and Africa, you don't have those reliable centralized databases. So when someone presents themselves as being John Doe, you need to actually verify who this person is, what their background is, and whether they're eligible for entry. What President Trump is saying is that there's been a rush to bring people into the country without doing slow, careful vetting, especially from countries where they don't have those centralized records, and that needs to be paused. Whether he can do so permanently, we can discuss in a moment, but that is something that is a national security issue from the Trump administration's perspective.
And that brings me to what I wanted to ask you. What kind of legal issues are posed here? Because we've heard from reporters that have looked into it with our Fox 5 DC team, and they're saying they expect legal challenges here. What sort of legal issues could arise?
The president can institute a pause on immigration, on visas, on travel, but it has to be a temporary pause. He cannot unilaterally permanently ban someone from a group of people from coming into the country. So while courts are deferential to national security considerations under the Immigration and Naturalization Act, specifically Section 212, which is what the president would invoke, that does not give him the mechanism for a permanent suspension. He needs to work with Congress on that. So what legal challenges you would see are from immigrants' rights groups and from probably congressional figures on the left who want to push back on any sort of permanent ban and put forth the need to work with Congress and the legislative system in order to actually control permanent migration issues.
Are there potential impacts here when you talk about the labor market, the economy in the U.S. as all of this does progress? If everything does kind of play out as President Trump wants it to, what are those ramifications?
Well, all of this depends on how broad we interpret President Trump's language about third world. If we're talking strictly about countries that we have a rational basis for suspecting that terrorists may be coming over the border, that's a more limited pool. But if we're adding to this Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, where we do have a lot of people who come on visas to work in labor in our country, in factories and in fields in agriculture, that presents a problem. That slows down our economy. And because our economy also relies on long-term immigration, because our birth rate has been declining, it does have a long-term impact on the ability of the economy to sustain our population as we get older. So all of this comes back to how broad President Trump means when he says third world countries, whether it's limited to countries that sponsor or support terrorism or more broadly to other countries.
How do you go about, I guess, a safeguard to ensure that all of this is, assuming we don't know just yet how broad of a pause this would be and how long it'll last, all of that. But how do you go about safeguarding this and making sure that it kind of plays out the way that it's supposed to or the way that it's meant to?
Well, we need to look to the legal system. For example, if President Trump wants to remove people or strip them of their status within the United States, they're entitled to due process within the immigration court system. So we want to make sure that that's followed, that they get their day in court, that they get to argue for asylum or any issues to question and challenge issues about their status. We also need Congress to step in and make sure that laws are there that either give the president the authority for long-term bans or long-term sanctioning on people from third world countries or whatever countries he may choose, or that Congress steps up and creates new mechanisms to make sure that people who come here are properly vetted. And that's also a legal challenge to the president if his orders are too broad. So ultimately, we're looking at the legal system to make sure that the Immigration and Naturalization Act is properly enforced without the president or the administration going too far.
Any misconceptions that you think people might have about all of this as a whole, as the information comes out ever since President Trump made the announcement, so to speak, on Thanksgiving? There's been things all over social media with people saying this, and this, and it's always, I would say about half the time, not true. So what kind of misconceptions do you think people have that you want to clear up for folks watching?
Well, I think the biggest misconception is that all of this happens in a vacuum and that there's no legal oversight. There is. When you want to remove someone or strip them of their status, whether it's a green card or a visa or a refugee status, you need to go through the legal system. So no one is rounding up people and putting them on a plane back to Afghanistan or anywhere else. That's simply not going to happen. The other misconception is that people have been vetted when they came to the United States. We're seeing that that's not the case, and that there has been a rush over the years to allow certain classes of people from countries that have experienced disasters, whether political, economic, or military, to come quickly to the United States. That has not always resulted in accurate vetting. So the two biggest misconceptions are that everyone who is here is entitled to be here, and at the same time that people who are being deported or face deportation are not getting due process.
All right, Gerard, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and break it down. We're going to watch as all of this does play out here. My last question for you here, actually, what should we be watching for in the coming days, hours, all of it, as we see where this goes?
We should be watching for whether President Trump issues an executive order about this, or whether this is something that is going to come from the State Department from Secretary Rubio. And we should be looking at the precise language that's being used to kind of narrow down the parameters of this idea, whether this is going to be limited to countries like Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq, or it's going to be broader. That will give us a sense of where we go from here.
Gerard, thank you again for being here with us. We definitely appreciate it.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. You heard there at the end them talking about escalating this and Trump potentially doing executive orders to make even stronger enforcements to protect America. If you think so, put EO in the comments for an executive order by Trump to go ahead and reverse the Biden administration policies and to make America safe again. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But what we're hearing is that right now he is pushing to help change policies on migration right now. In fact, let's take a look at some more video footage that has just come out on this so that way you can see the latest. Let's go ahead and take a look.
President Trump is intensifying his immigration crackdown after his administration says the National Guard shooting suspect should have never been allowed in the U.S. Trump is spending the holiday weekend at his Florida resort. Weijia Jiang is traveling with the president. Weijia, good morning.
Good morning to you, Vlad, and good morning to everybody. In response to that shooting, President Trump has announced new policy proposals to curb immigration, even threatening to expel migrants who are already here in the United States, who are not a, quote, net asset to the country.
President Trump blames the Biden administration for allowing the shooting suspect into the U.S.
There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out.
CBS News' Nancy Cordes pressed Trump on what his own administration found about the more than 76,000 Afghan nationals who entered the U.S. after the chaotic end to the Afghan war in 2021.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here. And you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person.
The Department of Homeland Security now says it will be reviewing all asylum cases approved under the Biden administration. And officials tell CBS News the Trump administration has directed that all current asylum decisions be paused. A DHS official tells CBS News the suspect's asylum case was approved under the Trump administration earlier this year.
When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out.
Trump also announced he would permanently pause migration from, quote, third world countries and called for a review of all green card holders from 19 countries of concern, including Haiti, Iran, and Afghanistan. Sean Van Diver is an advocate for Afghan migrants.
This shooter is solely responsible for this period. My number one concern is that all these 195,000 Afghans that came here during the last administration are going to be painted with the brush of this man.
And in a new announcement, President Trump says he is canceling all executive orders that former President Biden signed using an auto pen instead of his hand. Trump, without evidence, claims that when the auto pen was used, Biden was not involved. Biden has repeatedly addressed the attacks on his use of the auto pen, insisting that he was the one who made decisions when it came to executive orders, pardons, and legislation. Lindsay?
Weijia, thank you.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. And the concern is that with the auto pen being used on, they're saying the majority of Biden's executive orders, we had initially heard 92, 93%. Then I shared with you a report earlier today that said about 88%. Still a massive amount of the executive orders that were signed into law were done by Biden's auto pen. He didn't actually sit down and sign it. So the concern is that did he actually know what a lot of the things were that were signed? Now, Biden is claiming that he did, but Trump is saying that he didn't, and that there could just be people behind the scenes that are just pushing whatever agendas they want. Biden doesn't even know because he's got a machine that's signing various executive orders for him. Let me know your thoughts. Are you glad to see Trump reversing Biden's executive order signed by AutoPin because there's a possibility he just didn't even know what was going on? If you're glad to see it, put a 47. If you think no, put a 46 to support Biden as he's coming out and claiming that he knew everything that was being signed. Let me know your thoughts, but it could leave room for potential errors and recklessness. Let me know your thoughts. But let's go ahead and take a look at some more articles coming out as to what Trump is doing right now. Now, you can see here, you won't be here for long. Trump calls for migration ban on third world nations after the D.C. shooting. Now, President Donald Trump announced a sweeping overhaul of U.S. immigration policies and pledged to halt migration from third world countries, strip federal benefits from non-citizens, and deport anyone that he deems a burden or a security threat. And again, if you support this, put a 47. He's saying if you are here and pose a potential threat or danger to the U.S. citizens of this nation, you need to be deported. In a social media post, Trump vowed to permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover without clarifying which nations fall under that label. Traditionally, the terms refer to poorer, less developed countries. Now, actually, I want to correct this news article right here. Yesterday, I did share with you a list that was assembled, and you can see that on my live stream from yesterday, a list of all the nations that were included. So, News NAV, you should watch the Steve Ram channel because I've got more updates that you might want to check out. So we're hearing that Donald Trump is reversing a lot of these previous policies by the Biden administration, and he's saying we need to keep America safe and protect the people of this nation. And this coming as the breaking news coming out that this individual right here, Mr. Mohammed Dawood Al-Kozai, brought in via the Biden operation. He is saying on TikTok that he is going to do an attack on Fort Worth Americans, completing a bomb in his own residence, and he's saying that he is going to attack people. And I was playing for you. It says, in my home, he is building this bomb. He said, I'm telling you all that in Texas, in Fort Worth and Dallas, he was planning to do an attack. And he was on the live stream on TikTok talking to other people, and he was saying that he was planning to do it, and we're hearing that he has been intercepted, and the news coming out on that today, and this following what we just saw unfold in D.C. And so now a lot of people are saying that there is a lot more that we don't know about that's happening behind the scenes for attacks on U.S. cities. We've been hearing this for quite some time. The sleeper cells, the people that poured into our nation, into our borders during the last 4 years during the Biden administration. They're here, they're waiting, they're building bombs, they're planning attacks. We're hearing that there could be attacks on critical infrastructure systems, and they're saying what more is planned behind the scenes. If you're concerned about this, put yes in the comments. If you think no, it's not a big deal, that these are just individual attacks, they're not coordinated, put no in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. But whatever they reveal, whatever comes out, I'll be sure to report it here on the channel so you know exactly what is going on. This is the latest coming out today, November 29th, 2025. All these articles linked in the description. If you appreciate that, hit that thumbs up like button for me. Subscribe to stay up to date, and I'll keep you up to speed on everything. But that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll keep you up to speed as more rolls out. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.